Thank you so much. Welcome back. How are you guys feeling this afternoon? Some of you will be in your morning still. Some of you will be in your evening. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are on the 7th of the 7th, 2023. And I'm officially coining this day Crabsgate. So thank you for this section. As you can see, we're moving from section to section of Please Don't Call Me Sis, Toxic Femininity. And while my videos were playing, I had to recollect, okay, this is where we are, what's coming next. So far, I'll do a quick recap. I started the video with an intro video from 2020, where I first acknowledged and declared spiritual attack and open enemies from peers, from contemporaries. The next part of the video, I showcase some of my music in the break. We'll call them the breaks, okay? And basically, blessings to Samir. I spoke about an issue I had while running a yoga teacher training with a lady called Aisha, Mars Healed, Yoga Healed. I don't know what her handles are, and it's actually not relevant, okay? Because I'm aware of her surname and I haven't said her surname intentionally. And I also played the video that I did in May 2020, where I first approached this situation publicly, which I had to because Aisha was my first online troll. Now, I've been running my pages for many years on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube more recently, but I've always had social media pages. But I must say, Aisha was the first actual troll I had, whereas I had a real life troll who was a mentee. While I came off the break, I was able to consider, how does this tie in? And it really does. Because a part of this sharing isn't the emphasis on the please don't call me sis. That's an outcome of treacherous behavior amongst women, essentially. That's why someone would even come to that type of thinking, and not just amongst women. As I said, men use the term cis as well. So it's treacherous behavior amongst humans. I also spoke earlier on about this thing that's intrinsic to being human, that is documented in history, whether it's through mythology, human history, religion, which is the battle between the perceived forces of good and bad, light and dark, love and hate, good versus evil. I spoke about that as well. As you can see, the video is quite long, and I do feel for your consciousnness, it is important to watch this whole video. The parts that I recommend, if you want to skip when you're watching it back, seriously, you can skip the tracks. But there's a sharing that's taking place here that goes beyond what's in this specific container. It's actually more about this human experience that we have, and us reminding our consciousnesses about this, basically, and also being mindful of our own conduct and the way how we use our own character when showing up in the world. Now, I come from a Jamaican culture. I have used my page, my Facebook page, in the past 9 months specifically to celebrate, acknowledge, and to highlight primarily Jamaican music. It has connected me with a lot of music lovers, a lot of people who enjoy Jamaican music. But it hasn't just been Jamaican music, but as you know, the Nay Loves Music is my slogan. I've just launched my VIP lounge. It's a community of over 200,000 people that are on my page that love music. They love live performance. They love anything that can touch their soul. They're there for that. I was mindful that when I was creating this celebration of Jamaican culture, that I had recently, in the year before, put out a series of documentaries that's a lot more balanced and that unapologetically looks at both sides of Jamaican heritage, looks at where the wounds and the traumas and the ills are, as much as the other side that is more what we're known for or what we want to be known for. When I speak about Jamaican culture, I'm not actually just speaking about Jamaica, but Caribbean culture and migratory culture, Many of us, wherever we're from, we know what migration may look or feel like when one body of people with a set culture migrate to another part. Or you may have been somewhere where you saw a body of people with another culture migrate. You know, it's migration, it's culture. You bring the good of your culture, you bring the bad of your culture. So while I've been having this kind of dual conversation through the documentary, seeking to be authentic, to show both sides, through the music, just focusing on the music and really staying on brand with that, it's important for me to have this discussion about toxic femininity within Jamaican culture and my personal experience of it, and how it brings itself into this conversation as I speak about the second online troll that I had. So the first online troll was Aisha. The second online troll, however, is my brother's wife, Molleka. Yep. And the reason why she became a troll, which basically means she created a fake page. She started to reach out to every single person who commented. Now look at my page. How many people comment? Imagine if someone sat down and just decided to DM every single person, then go and create an Instagram and do the same thing. What she did is that she became a copycat, because they had been observing, although we weren't having a relationship, everyone, although they're not in a relationship with me, they seem to still be glued into what I'm doing. So she had been observing me for years. And so she saw when Aisha trolled me and reached out to everyone. She saw when I did the video. So when she became upset with me because of something that's deeply entrenched in toxic femininity and upholding patriarchy, when she became upset with me, what happened? She decided to become a copycat troll. And so she created this fake account. And the reason why she did it was essentially because my family tried to blackmail me, and I decided that after, I guess at the time, 8 years of running I Love My Room, 8 years of supporting women in loving themselves and taking care of themselves, in healing traumas, 8 years of speaking to women from all different backgrounds, of every single different race, 8 years of working with women from all over the planet taught me some serious lessons about what toxic femininity can look like in one's childhood. And a large percentage of these women had really horrific stories about things they had endured with their own mothers, their aunties, you get what I'm saying? Their sisters, their grandmothers, abuses that they had experienced. And to be honest, it wasn't, I wouldn't say this is just a Caribbean thing or a black, this is a thing on this planet when it comes to women. And if you look in the media, every year a celebrity will come out, a female celebrity, and talk about what she endured at the hands of her mother or her nanny or her auntie. Just Google what I've just said and you'll see what I'm talking about. So it clearly is every corner of the globe, this is going on. So I found myself in a position where, as much as I had cultivated this healing journey with my community, with my clients, it wasn't on the back of me ever speaking about my personal experiences, ever. And when my back was put up against the wall, I decided that it was important for me to come and be transparent. So I called my mother one day to warn her about something, not something airy-fairy, something tangible and real that I could see that she probably had overlooked, that would create serious risk for her safety in the future. I called my mother to warn her about it. She became very angry with me because this issue was linked to my father, and she felt that I was, I don't know, taking sides, and that wasn't the case. And her response was, if you call me about this issue again, I will go online. Hold on, this is my mother. I will go online and I will expose all of your secrets. So this I don't know what year this was. It must have been 2021. That's what I'm thinking. It must have been 2021. And I was shocked because I wasn't aware that I had all of these secrets to expose, but I also became very aware that I was the one that had the secrets. And somehow this was an attempt to, I don't know, bring me into some mental illusion, some manipulation, because I'm the person who has the secrets and I have never spoken on them. And I realized that I could now integrate that childhood aspect of myself with the woman who I had become, both personally and professionally. And in doing that, I wasn't to allow anyone to manipulate me anymore. So I did 2 presentations to my audience to explain this same toxic femininity from Jamaican culture. You see how deep this is? It's not the first time I've spoken on it. Pray let it be the last. Let's start talking about healthy femininity. Do you get what I'm saying? Which we need to talk about if we keep having to deal with the opposite side. And I came and I explained that as a young woman, as a 15-year-old woman, I had run away from home. And I had made myself independent and emancipated myself from my family. And the reason why I had done that is because my own brother, known to my mother, how do I say this in a way that is okay for the internet? Hold on. Had a history. He had a history of assaulting women biologically. Yeah, I guess that's how we can say it. And even though my mother was aware of this, no steps were taken to discipline, prevent, restrict. It was just nothing. And being raised in Jamaica where women were often abused, children, not even the women yet, children would turn up unalived. Girl children would be assaulted by grown men. It was something that I realized I always looked at as being outside of the home, but the culture was showing me, no, it's part of the culture. It's now in the home. So I left home and I started my independent journey. That's how I started life. I left home at 15 saying, I don't believe in that. That's essential. I didn't have all the words, but at the time it was, I don't actually believe in that. And if that's what you guys believe in, I'm out. He was also very violent, very aggressive. And similarly, there was no support for the feminine. So there were no restrictions put into place to say, you're not to be violent to your sister, you're not to be aggressive. Do you get what I'm saying? And I also didn't believe in that. So this is in my documentary, just so you know, if you watch Life After Death, it's on my YouTube channel. I go into this in more detail. But when I first came out, I just came and spoke about it. And when I did that, the punishment that my family tried to exact upon me in a bid to restrict my expression, in a bid to, what's the word? To whip me for being honest, in a bid to assault me for not conforming to the manipulation, was for my brother's wife, Molleka, to create a fake, this is so petty, like a fake everything, Facebook, Instagram, again, because she was doing the copycat of Aisha. And then she did that until she got bored. And I told everyone it was my mother because I initially thought it was because they were all from the same camp. And I was wondering, how does my mom know how to do that? My mom was behind it, but it was someone who was younger, more technologically savvy. And obviously, as a woman, as a mother, having these kind of experiences, it really forces you to dig deep and find your own center, find your own truth, because you're part of a culture where toxic femininity is your mother, it's your sister-in-law, it's your wicked auntie. If you even watch my documentaries, you hear about my wicked auntie. It's the women around you. Do you understand? And that has been a big part of the fuel that led me to create a mixtape like A Raw Slice of Reality. If you listen to my mixtape, A Raw Slice of Reality, cathartic music, healing music, Goddess in Transit, same thing. These are music that I created while I was processing, healing, all of that. But what I didn't know is that first troll professional, second troll family. It was going to be a thing where people were going to be coming from all walks of life, you know, with the same toxic femininity, with the same crab in a barrel syndrome, wanting to pull people down. Anytime someone's rising, you just want to pull them down. You just want to pull them down. It was the same people saying, hey, sis, blessings, sis, wagwan, sis, you good, sis. What's the next one? Grand rising. Oh, good rising, blessed rising, sis. And like I said on my Facebook, Empress and Queen, all of that. Those were the same people that were just reminding me of the biblical story where Judas was the disciple that stabbed Jesus, or whatever he did. Hypothetically, he jerked him in the back. You know, it's the same thing. And unfortunately, but also very humanly, these are part of the issues that we have on this planet. I'm just talking about some that I've experienced that I can see. And this toxic femininity, it affects everyone because women have more power and being to themselves than most people realize. Maybe men know the most. Women come with a certain power. And our thing is to really be aligned with the best service to ourselves and to others when we're not toxic. We can create miracles. We can do so much. We can empower dreams and nations, not just through giving birth to them. We can say things, we can do things that have such an impact every day. We are that. But when we're toxic, rather than sending out that beauty, that change, that impact, we're sucking in and we're creating this negative storm. We're pulling other people into it. And it's a draining, parasitical, leech-like energy. Okay, draining and parasitical. So that leads me to the third troll. Yes, I had a third online troll. Now, my third online troll is actually very significant. Significant to the page, but significant to this whole video. Because she did some things that really actually worked in my favor. And she's so good at what she does. I'll give her credit for that. What she's done is she's pulled other people out who weren't visibly showing that they were open enemies, but they don't know that a troll has pulled them out. See, there's all these conversations that have been taking place about me online for years. And this lady, Bayush, I've put all the details below. She is someone who she was the second copycat. She's the third troll. She copied everything that Aisha did, but she went many steps further. She created an Instagram in my business name at the time. She created an Instagram in my legal name. She created a Facebook in my business name at the time. She created a Facebook in my legal name. Twitter, same thing. LinkedIn, same thing. SoundCloud, same thing. YouTube, same thing. Now, I can respect if someone wants to create an I hate this person page. It's open, it's real, it's genuine. But when you have to pretend to be someone, so she's basically impersonating me on all the pages, she's pretending to be me. And while she's pretending to be me, she's not sharing the kind of content that I would normally share. No. What she's doing is she's sharing confessions that are not true. One of the most dangerous and hurtful things that she put on the page, one of the things that alarmed me to how disheveled her mind is, how corrupt and broken her spirit is, and how psychotic she is. is a range, I want to say one, but there's a range of, every single post, as far as I'm concerned, is a psycho post. Every single one. But the one that shows that she has no soul and no base to her, no standards, is my past partner passed away in a car crash at the end of 2021, if I'm not mistaken, or 2020, at the end of 2020. We weren't together anymore. We had split up for about a year and a half. And he had just, within a few months prior, he had started to date someone new. And unknown to the wider community, that woman had conceived for him. Okay? And unfortunately, they had a car crash. Car crashes are very frequent in Jamaica, very sad. It's just a bad side of Jamaica. Do you understand? Car crashes. Anyone that knows Jamaica, you don't even have to be Jamaican. You just need to know Jamaica. You just know car crashes are hard there all the time. It's terrible. So he passed away, rest his soul, in a car crash with his partner. They all passed away. When he passed away, I still hadn't healed from that relationship. I'm telling you that. So I went through everything: anger, grief, sadness, everything. It was a lot. Very hard experience. Thankfully, time is the greatest healer. Why is this woman, Bayush, on the pages pretending to me, telling the world that I essentially commissioned the homicide, because I have to use my language carefully on the platforms. I commissioned the homicide of someone who passed away in a car crash? Why is it that if I go on any platform, so say if you had a platform, and this has happened, I'm going to break it down. If say Frederick has a platform called anything, and I'm a part of that, and he says, come on your platform and talk about what you're doing or whatever, Bayush will reach out to Frederick from the fake pages and say, you should stay away from Linnea, and show all the posts on the page, you know, that's in my name, you know, when it's her. This has been going on for 2.5 years. I kid you not. This started, in January 2021. This, I have evidence, I have seen. I'm going to trip you lot up, you know. There's a reason why this live is so long. 2 weeks ago, the whole of this year, the whole of last year, that's 2.5 years, because we're in 2023, right? And we're in July. 2.5 years. Bayush, who has 2 children, I don't know if she's divorced the husband, 2 children like under 12 that are supposed to be homeschooled, has time to not only contact every single person in my following on all of my platforms. If you go on Instagram, I've got at least 4 different pages, you know. It's not a joke. Facebook, fake LinkedIn, fake YouTube. In addition to that, Bayush reaches out to me at least once a week from a fake account. Initially, I used to block the account. So I went and checked the other day. I blocked like 70 accounts. That's Bayush fake account, because she comes and checks my stories. She comes and checks the posts. It's on Instagram. I used to block her. But then one day I realized, you are crazy, and my sanity, we ain't a match. So you carry on doing what you're doing, because I don't care. Because the way how you're crazy, I'm like, whoa. It's made me rethink our whole backstory. Like, is that who you are? Okay. Even last week, she contacted me from a face. You can joking, from a fake Instagram, and said something about, how are you? And I actually said to her, how are you, Bayush? Do you miss me? And what did she say? Yes, I do. After this live, she's probably going to go and delete it. I could just go into the Instagram, screenshot it, and show it to you if you think I'm joking. 2.5 years of harassment, of her impersonating me, of slander, of stalking. 2.5 years. Look. So I'll read it to you. She was active an hour ago. She sent Hola Lovely, 21st of June. I say, hey, Bayush. Seriously, 2 days later, hey, Bayush. I know it's her, because she's always doing this foolishness. She goes, hello, sweetie. See, she's not saying who is Bayush, you know. Hello, sweetie. You are beautiful. Trying it. I say, miss me, LOL, be well, up. And that's the last time I went into this message until today. And I can see she said, I sure do. How are you doing? She said, that's what she said. I sure do. How are you doing? So just so you know, if you get reached out to by anyone, it's Bayush. If it's not Bayush, it's part of the people that Bayush pulled out of the woodwork, which I'm so thankful for, which I'll go into shortly. But I did want to make sure, before I go into that, this is the last video I'm going to play. It's very short. I think it's like 10 minutes, right? And this is the video that I do in February 2021 to address, but I don't address anything. You're going to see what happens. This is going to help you to understand, it's more the backstory, like where do I know this person from? And you'll also see my character, because when I do this video, Bayush is trolling me. She's contacting all my clients. She's doing it. I'm just doing this video to break down a story, but I'm not telling the audience this person who I'm talking about is who's doing the trolling, because we haven't got there yet. Because I find that some people are so off their rocker. They'll see you have a platform. They want you to run and say, oh, everyone. So I'm like, that's my last resort, is to actually say to my audience, this is what's going on. Because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, look, publicity or something. You understand? And when I started the documentaries last year, I saw Bayush reached out to Afua Rose, who Bayush disgraced Afua Rose, and Afua Rose allowed Bayush to disgrace her. So thanks to both of you guys. So after this video, I'm going to explain how Bayush disgraced Afua Rose and how Afua Rose allowed a 28, because she's 28, you know, she's a kid. I forgot to mention she's 28. So how Afua Rose, a 54-year-old woman who is a grandmother and has at least 5 children, the youngest who's still in school, how she let Bayush, a 28-year-old with 2 children and no life, she let Bayush make her reveal her true character for the whole internet to see. Now, people saw, which I'll speak about, Afua Rose show her degenerate behavior. What people don't know is that Bayush, who is my main troll, the copycat of Aisha and Molleka, she's my 3rd troll. She's the 2nd copycat, but she's the major one, because the first 2 trolls, they had their season. Aisha stopped once I went to the police. The other one stopped once it kind of died down, the shame had gone. But Bayush has been doing it for 2.5 years. So Afua made the craziest person, the most intense, possessed, the person's obsessed and possessed with me. She made her draw her out. And it was funny to me, and it is funny to me. So I just want to, just so y'all know, it was funny, and it is funny. So let's go into our last file that I have to play. What's this one called? Okay. When women love predatorial strangers and toxicity becomes the norm. You hear that word again? Now, before we go into this video, quick recap. You start this video with the first person who showed me how dangerous people can be, our mentee. We then go into a conversation about how this is part of human nature. Historically, through the gods, religion, mythology, in humans, we see this battle between the forces of good and evil. I speak about crab in the barrel syndrome, which comes, I don't know where it comes from, but it's very popular within Black culture and Jamaican and Caribbean culture. The idea that when one is in some type of restricted state, their mind becomes perverse and corrupted. And so they always want to pull down people who are elevating rather than to push them up. It's like a I don't want to say retardation, but it's it's an imbalance of the brain. So it makes you want to destroy instead of creating. It makes you believe in lack instead of in abundance. And then we spoke about how in Jamaica that manifests as a thing called bad mind, and how the topic of bad mind is very popular within Jamaican culture. It's all over Jamaican music, dance, media, because it's something that permeates not just Caribbean culture within the islands, but the places where the Caribbean people migrated to, specifically Windrush, those who migrated to the Americas, etc. They will be experienced a high level of crab in a barrel mentality and also toxicity in men and women. But I'm here to talk about toxic femininity because we have to clean up, we have to take responsibility for who we are. I then spoke about a teaching experience that I had with Aisha, who was my first online troll. I played the video about that. And now I've introduced my second and third troll. It's crazy, right? And I'm not done, you know. Second and third troll. Second being Molleka, third being Bayush. Please watch this video. I don't know how long. I find that when I put it in, it starts.
One of the things that I realize is when it comes to women, and it's probably a human thing, to be honest. It's just because I work with a lot of women. So we tend to have cycles and journeys that we can go through that are dependent on age. But then we have some other cycles and journeys that we can go through that are not dependent on age. Do you understand? So you could have an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 66-year-old, and a 45-year-old, all learning a specific lesson at the same time. For me, that's the case of women, and it's also probably, just, as I said, a human thing. Okay? So this story, I found it interesting because when you first hear it, it will sound like it's really just about a young person at risk. But when you look into it, you'll realize many people have had similar experiences with slightly different details, okay? So I met a lady in quite a few years ago, and it was a young girl, and there was a young girl, she was very young. She might have been 18. So she had a really nice energy, and you know, we built a rapport. This person was like, I think I might have been maybe 12 years older at this time, so I was quite older than her. And she lived with her parents, or one of her parents. So during the time that we were getting to know each other, you know, just going to the park sometime with my daughter, like, because I was family at that time, so you'd rarely see me and not see my daughter. So we do those kind of things, and we developed a good rapport. And it was interesting because I always just got the sense of I'm being brought into this person's life when something significant is about to happen. I didn't know what that thing was. Okay, but considering I met her, like, this is an 8-year chapter. Okay, so I was. So basically, during the time of us meeting, she had dated some people, but nothing serious. I think there was someone in the UK dating her, and I don't remember why it fell apart, but it did. Obviously, that wasn't taking up a lot of space in my head because I was a parent, I had a business to run. But she was, it wasn't even that we were friends. We were friends, but it was definitely more like a village, because there was my younger child, and then there was her who she was like between me and my daughter, and then myself. So at some point she kept on talking about someone on Facebook, and it had turned out that she had met someone on Facebook. She had met a man on Facebook, and they had started talking, and she would always talk to me about him, which I don't, usually want to hear all of those stories, to be fair. But because she was a younger sister to me, I just had this sense of you have to remain open, because, oftentimes when things are going on, the girls won't tell their family, but they'll tell someone who's not far from home. So she started, basically, at this time, she was in London, and I didn't realize, but months later I realized that the person she was talking to was in New York, right? So she began to travel to New York to visit this person. And my intuition was just like, this is not going to end well. I know that now, online dating and stuff, but even then it was familiar, online dating, but it just felt like you're not supposed to meet people on Facebook and go across the country to hang out with them under the man and woman business. But I just wanted to support her, so to make sure that she always had this open conversation. So I did give her some advice, but left it at that. So after a few trips, she became pregnant. And yeah, as a result of her becoming pregnant, she eventually she migrated to New York, and they got married. So the paperwork could be concrete. And they continued as a family for a long time. Okay? So bear in mind, she was like 18. And the thing is, I didn't remember so much, but it turns out that the guy that she was talking to on Facebook was older than me. So he might have been like, if she was 18, he might have been like 35, 38. Do you know what I mean? Because now he's in his mid-40s. So as time went on, it became clear that love wasn't enough to keep the health of that situation, and it became very unhealthy. Okay, so from domestic abuse, cheating, verbal abuse, all different kinds of toxic behavior started to become the norm. And I actually hadn't seen this person consistently, so it's not a kind of story like that, but it did come to my attention that, now they're at a space where they're having a divorce, and there has been so much abuse that the whole family, including the children, are quite traumatized, because essentially it's an unloving environment. And so this woman who was once a young girl, at 18, who is now 26, she's getting ready to have a divorce after going through a serious experience and making her way back to the UK in order to come back to health. And as I've seen this happening, and the level of how, if you stay in a toxic situation for too long, you yourself can become extremely toxic, even though it was a default. When I look at this experience of a woman essentially trusting a stranger, okay, giving up what she has established on the back of that trust, and then going into that situation and into that relationship only to experience the greatest level of dysfunction, toxicity, dishonesty, abuse, I realized that as much as this person was 18 years old when this happened, this is not a young people's problem. Do you know what I'm saying? In this instance, we could say it's a young people's problem, but actually the act of people kind of having relationships with strangers and going too far before it's too late, and then having to deal with the shit that comes, that is a very human thing. And so there's a few things that I wanted to highlight, which is this. As much as the internet has been around for what feels like, okay, this has been around for a little while now, these experiences are still very new for some families, meaning in some families there will be a first generation of a person who has had a cyber-based marriage, a marriage that only happened because there was the internet. Do you get what I'm saying? There's first generation people born in this country, born in that country. There's also the first generation of children who come from relationships that were founded on Facebook or on Instagram. You know, think about it. Think about 25 years from now, yeah. How many children are going to be saying that their parents met on Facebook? And although I am sure that those, it's not a generalization to say all of those meetings turned out so seriously, I would say it's very likely that many of them were, by the very least, unsuccessful, and by the very most, dangerous. And so what I'd like us to take from that story is, one, we still have an obligation to young people. We still have an obligation to explain to them things that we might have said once that we just decide, say, they know now because I said it. Because we know that repetition is the master of learning. And so we still have to say things to bring these things into our children's consciousness. So there's this repetition of safety, how to be safe online, how to be safe as a young woman going into relationship. If our mothers, say for example, they didn't teach us anything, we have to go and find something of quality to teach to our children. And this isn't just for females, sorry. Our sons and our daughters, yeah? Because this is the norm. And we don't want it to be, hey, I'm going to message you today, Nubian. I'm glad to see you. We don't want it to be the thing where it's after that has happened, we say, oh, I wish I had said something, you know? So as much as the internet has become commonplace in our lives, we have to practice internet safety. We have to tell our children about internet safety, and don't just assume that, even if they say, oh, mom, I know that, okay, but I'm just reminding you, you know? And the second part of that story that I'd like to highlight is we are in charge of how we connect with people. So if we start to connect with someone, whether it's a friendship, whether it's an intimate relationship, spiritual relationship, whatever it is, we are the ones that hold the reins for how fast this thing can go. But sometimes we don't realize that. Sometimes we're so much just responding to what the person's bringing, we don't realize that, hey, this is actually my pace. This is how I do things. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of business for me is just working out, hold on, this is what I'm experiencing, but this is what I'm about. And having to make that gap smaller. And so we all, at every age within our life, have the ability to meet strangers. We all meet strangers all the time. And we have the ability in those instances to open doors or to close doors. And what we want to be doing is using our discernment to be able to open doors to better experiences and to close doors to things that don't look safe. And as much as safety keeps someone in their comfort zone, outside of that context, safety is important. And let's not make the YOLO, I just heard Vibes Cartel going, YOLO, don't let the YOLO mentality make you jump out of the knowledge that safety is wisdom, and moving with safety in mind is self-love. Moving with caution, and because you're not because you're afraid, but because you're amazing, and so you just got to protect yourself. Because you're all that. That is important too. Okay? So blessings, sis. I'm going to message you after, and happy 2021. So I hope that you gained something from that. And for those who just joined, there's a goddess oracle at the beginning of the video, so you can go back and watch it. It's for everyone. Okay? And I played some of my, well, I don't know if I played the music on Instagram, but I did when I was on Facebook. And that's just my little piece of vibes, you know? She is too bold. As I got older, all they wanted to ask me is, what are you? Are you a Christian? Do you belong to Islam, a Rastafarian, or a Jew? Who are you? What do you stand for? Are you a pagan? What is your belief system? As if I couldn't see. They just wanted to categorize me so they could then despise me, trying to divide me into pieces. I am complete, and the truth is I'm the I am complete, and the truth is this world that I call mine. My world is so precious, it's so sacred. Anybody try to infiltrate gets erased and replaced with beautiful vibration, healing and peace. You offer me sufferation, you offer me self-degradation. You want to replace my peace with confusion. Want me not to love myself. You thrive when I'm deluded. You offer me self-destruction. You give me poisons and the instructions. You give me false images to distort my vision. It's like a death on a mission to destroy my vibration. Surround me with foes, but my ancestors, they see, they know. Living in this place that I call I, this world that I call mine, I decline your offer. Living in this place that I call I, this world that I call mine, I decline your offer. 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 Everything that you come and offer to me, living in this place that I call I, this world that I call mine, I decline your offer. Living in this place that I call I, this world that I call mine, I decline your offer.